What's going on, duelists? It's your boy Nick, bringing you today on the channel an update to my Psychic deck profile for the post-Doom of Dimensions format and the post-September 2025 ban list. For those of you new to the channel, welcome. My name is Nick. We do Yu-Gi-Oh content mainly focused around rogue and casual decks alike. If that's the kind of Yu-Gi-Oh that you're interested in, then I highly encourage you to smash that subscribe button. We are currently working our way to 3,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. I also have a Discord linked in the description down below. It is absolutely free to join. I'm slowly building a community there with like-minded individuals who enjoy the game as much as I do and like the kinds of decks that I tend to cover on this channel. And we've been there, you know, having conversations and labbing different stuff up. And honestly, it's been pretty enjoyable. So if you guys are interested in joining that as well, like I said, it's linked in the description down below. Now, Doom of Dimensions sneak peek was this weekend at time of recording. I actually went to my locals yesterday as well as today, picked up a box of the product and was able to grab a bunch of the stuff that I needed. I also participated in two sneak peek tournaments, one yesterday and one today, both of which I went X1 with this exact deck list I'm going to showcase for you duelists today. I did top. It's actually how I got this exclusive Doom of Dimensions playmat, which is obviously pretty cool, featuring the new DDD boss monster on it. But overall, the deck, like I said, it went X1 in both tournaments. It is a 45-card Psychic pile deck list, and it's honestly been so much fun to play. And, you know, most of the generic Psychic support we got in the previous core set, which was Duelist Advance. But in this core set, Doom of Dimensions, we got two brand new extra deck utility cards that this deck is able to utilize to their full potential. And is part of the reason why I wanted to showcase this deck for you duelists on the channel. So without further ado, we're going to dive headfirst into the deck profile. Like I mentioned before, this deck list, I went X1 in back-to-back tournaments, and honestly, it's just been an absolute blast to play. So it's 45 cards, like we always do here on the channel. We are going to start off with the monster lineup, of which we're actually playing a small Mutant package in this deck, consisting of 2 copies of Mutant MO5, 1 copy of Mutant Mutant, 1 copy of Mutant ST46, followed by 1 copy of Mutant Beast. This is mainly just in here in the deck to facilitate a very small mutant line, which gets you to Mutant Beast, who is a spell negate, and also sets up a Mutant Cry, which is their fusion trap in the back row, allowing you access to their fusion card, Mutant Synthesis, during the opponent's turn, which gives you a target pop. And because these are just E-Telliable Psychic monsters, all with very good levels for synchro climbing, I find that, you know, using these monsters to either bait interaction or just help you extend, you know, going like MO5 into Mutant Mutant and then Mutant Mutant into Beast is obviously a really good play. And it sets up a pretty decent board, especially if you're under Fuelos. Like I said, I went to 2 back-to-back tournaments with this deck. Some of the matchups that I faced were RBs, Maliss, I faced a Mitsurugi deck as well as a Drytron deck and a Ryzeal Zoodiac deck as well. Among other things, like I also faced off against a DDD deck as well. But like I said, I went X1 in both tournaments, so the deck has been performing really, really well. But this is basically your standard mutant package, I feel. MO5 on normal or special searches a mutant monster from the deck to your hand. And then as an additional effect, he can tribute himself and banish a card from your hand or face-up field to special summon the appropriate boss from deck, which in this case is Beast. In order to do that, you have to banish a monster. Mutant Mutant, if you control a mutant monster, can special himself from hand, and then shares a similar second effect to MO5. However, you're banishing a mutant card from deck instead of your hand or field to summon out a mutant boss. And then ST46, very similar to MO5, searches you a mutant spell trap on summon, and then has the exact same secondary effect of MO5, allowing you to banish him, tribute himself, banish a card from hand or field to special summon an appropriate mutant boss. And then the Beast, like I said, cannot be targeted by monster effects, and as a quick effect, spell negate and banish, which I feel is very, very strong. So that wraps up our mutant lineup. Very small mutant package. You know, wanted to eliminate all the bricks while still keeping the best parts of the mutant line intact. But now we're moving in to our brand new starter that we got in the previous core set. This is 3 copies of the Serene Psychic Girl. This card is basically Emergency Teleport on legs. She is a level 2 Psychic Tuner, and when it's normal or special summoned, you can banish a card from your hand. That's part of the effect, not cost. And if you do, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Psychic from deck, except herself. It is important to note that you are locked into Psychics from the extra deck for the rest of the turn after she resolves. But again, that's not an issue. And then as an additional benefit, she allows you to target monsters on the field up to the number of Psychic monsters you control and increase their levels by 1. So, like I said, playset of this card is basically your best starter. She can turbo into any other level 4 or lower Psychic from your deck, so obviously that is very crucial for your combos. Up next, out of, again, the previous core set, Duelist Advance, is a playset of Prototype Psychic Blaster. I think this card is a very high quality extender for Psychics, generically. He can discard himself from the hand to special summon any level 4 or lower Psychic that's in your hand or that's banished. Then if he's in the graveyard, you can pay 1,000 life points and banish one other Psychic monster from grave to special summon this card from the graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. So not only can this card pitch himself from hand, allowing you to special any level 4 or lower Psychic that's in your hand or banished, but then once he's in the graveyard, he can banish another Psychic and to special himself back. So this card is like a double extender, which is just really, really insane. And since this deck does play quite a few normal summons, I find that having a playset of this card in the deck is helpful because it helps out those hands where you draw multiple normal summons. You know, if you have hands that produce like MO5 and Serene Girl, for example, you would want something like a Prototype Blaster to be able to tutor out the remaining Psychics you have. So moving on, again, this is all new support from the previous core set. We have 1 Mind Procedure and 1 Hush Psychic Minister. Both of these cards are really, really cool. Mind Procedure being a level 3 light Psychic Tuner. He can also be treated as a non-tuner if used as synchro material for a Psychic Synchro monster. Then, if this card is normal summoned or special summoned by a monster effect specifically, you can pay 2,000 life and add a teleport normal or quick play spell from the deck or graveyard to your hand. So yes, Mind Procedure searches Emergency Teleport from deck or grave to hand. It's absolutely insane. And additionally, if he is banished, you can pay 1,000 life points to special summon himself. However, you can only use 1 of his effects per turn. So you're not able to like Gold Sark this, pay 1,000, bring it back, and then pay 2,000 to search a telly, because that would just be absolutely cracked. So it's 1 or the other effect per turn. But overall, as a one-off, he's just been great. And then we have Hush Psychic Minister, a brand new Psychic extender. As long as you control a Psychic, you can special this from your hand in defense. And then while he's in the graveyard, he can banish himself and any other Psychic to target a monster on the field and banish it until the end phase. So two very good cards, you know, one really high quality starter and another very good extender. So that wraps up the generic Psychic support. Now we're moving into more archetypal stuff. So in addition to the Mutant package that we play, we also have a P.U.N.K package in this deck as well, just because P.U.N.Ks are a very high quality Psychic cards. We have 3 Foxy Tune, 2 Xiamen, 1 Wagon. I'm gonna focus on these cards first. So the main starter here really is Xiamen. We play 2 copies of her. She's a level 3 Psychic Tuner monster, and you can pay 600 life to add a P.U.N.K monster from deck to hand. So pretty much archetypal Rhoda. The Wagon is another level 3 Psychic Tuner that when you pay 600 life allows you to add a P.U.N.K spell from deck to hand. And then additionally, we play 3 copies of Foxy Tune, who can pitch himself from the hand, and if he resolves, you can discard an additional card to special any P.U.N.K from deck that's not a level 8. He can also tribute a P.U.N.K you control to special himself from hand, although that effect seldom comes up. You're mainly using this to E-Telly P.U.N.K from the deck, which I think is really cool. But you play 3 Foxy, 2 Xiamen, 1 P.U.N.K Wagon. Then rounding out the P.U.N.K engine, we do play 1 copy of Deer Note, followed by 1 copy of Rising Scale. A Deer Note just being another way to help extend. It brings back names from grave, and then Rising Scale allowing you to special it from hand by banishing a P.U.N.K from hand or graveyard, and then specialing a P.U.N.K from the deck or grave upon its special summon. 2 very, again, high quality extenders. They can be bricky at times, because again, like by themselves, they don't do anything. But as part of like the P.U.N.K engine, I think that they're very high quality extenders, so you should just be playing them at 1-1 for a deck list such as this one. But now that rounds out the archetypal like engine monsters. Now we're going to be moving into some of the non-engine monsters we play, of which we have 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Fuelos. We are also playing a K9 package consisting of 3 K9 17 Izuna. I think the small K9 engine in this deck has been huge as far as the ceiling goes, because not only can you use this card going first or second, it helps you play through hand traps. It just gives you additional synchro climbing resources by giving you free level 5 bodies to the board. And it's just a great card. Now, I know that K9 17 Izuna might be out of budget for some players. It is absolutely not required in this deck. Obviously, it does help. But if you didn't want to play the K9 package, you could actually try to cut it completely from the list and just play the deck at 41. Or you could substitute this for a different piece of non-engine. Maybe increase on like a Psyframe package, which we are playing. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But overall, I have 3 Ash, 3 Fua, 3 Izuna. And then continuing on with the non-engine, we do have 1 Psyframe Gamma, 1 copy of Ghost Ogre, the 1 K9 Lupus, and then 1 Psyframe Driver to round out our monster lineup. I think the Psyframe package in this deck is absolutely mandatory, because not only does it help you bait out cards like Ash or Fua, like on your E-Tellies, you could just like punish your opponent so hard by gamming them in a situation like that. So I think Gamma's a very high quality hand trap. Yes, you have to play the brick for it, but honestly, it's a non-issue, because you can actually like pitch this for like your Serene Girl effect or your Foxy Tune effect, and you know it's a non-issue as far as that's concerned. 1 copy of Ogre, because it is searchable, and then obviously you have the K9 Lupus, which I guess you could say is the Garnet for the K9 engine. But like I said, 3 Izuna, 1 Lupus has been working out really, really well for me as far as testing goes. And I've been very happy with the K9 package in this deck overall, not only to help you make Xyz plays, but for synchro climbing as well. So that rounds out the monster lineup. Again, this is a 45 card deck. Now we're moving into the spells, of which we have 3 copies of Emergency Teleport. Needs no introduction. Just honestly, this card is not being once per turn is insane, and it just gives you so much advantage in this deck, and it's also searchable and recurable from grave as well. Up next, we have Teleport Fusion, which was another new teleport card out of the previous core set, Duelist Advance. Allows you to fusion summon a Psychic Fusion by banishing psychic monsters from your field or graveyard as the material. And then it has an additional benefit where if a face-up psychic monster you control that will special summon from the extra deck is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from grave, target one of your banished psychic monsters, and special summon it. So very good quality card there. And then we have the 1 P.U.N.K Jam Extreme Session field spell that the P.U.N.K Wagan allows us to search for. Basically, if a psychic monster pays life to activate its effect, we can draw a card, and we can use that effect up to twice per turn. Additionally, we can banish a P.U.N.K from the graveyard to special summon a P.U.N.K from our hand. So it's just like a way to extend. Just the 1 of as an engine requirement is more than enough. It is searchable. Moving on with the rest of our spell lineup, we just have 1 copy of Called by the Grave, followed by 1 Crossout Designator. Again, we don't really want to lose to any hand traps, mainly Fuelos, because this deck has a tendency to special a lot from the deck. So cards like Fua do tend to hurt us, but that's why I'm playing, 3 Ash. I'm playing the Called by and the Crossout, as well as the Gamma. So we have like 6 different ways to out a Fuelos, in a 45 card list. So it's very seldom that Fua resolves against us. So I've been liking these cards a lot. And Crossout is pretty good because we play such a high propensity of hand traps. We're on Ash, we're on Fua, we're on Ogre, we're on the K9 package. So you can even designate like your opponent's K9 17 Izuna, which I find very useful. That rounds out the spells. Now moving into the traps, 1 copy of Mutant Cry, which is basically Mutant's like Tri-Brigade Revolt of sorts. And then to round out the remaining trap lineup is just 3 Imperm. So adding even more gas to the non-engine suite that we already play. Again, this is also a cross-out target for us. And this is all in a 45 card deck list. Like I said, I took this deck to 2 different sneak peek locals this weekend and went X1 in both tournaments, so it plays really, really well. Like I said, I actually won this playmat, and I've just been having an absolute blast playing this deck. If you duelists want to see new combos and test hands, chime down in the comments below. I have absolutely no problem bringing you updated combos and test hands for this deck. But now that we got the 45 card main deck out of the way, let's dive headfirst into the extra deck, of which we are playing one copy of Mutant Synthesis. This is what we're making off of our Mutant Cry. On Fusion Summon, you can target a card in the field, destroy it, and then if the opponent activates a card or effect as a quick effect, you can, for the rest of this turn, chain this card, and this face-up card is unaffected by the effects of opponent's cards of the same type, monster, spell, or trap. So like if you summon this, and they chain Imperm, you can chain the Synthesis and make it unaffected by traps, for example, for the rest of the turn. So very annoying card. It's also really good when going second as a breaker, because you can use this to like force out like Omni negates, and then when they chain the Omnis, you can chain this to make it unaffected. So like it's just really good overall as a fusion. Then we play the brand new Axon Kicker Oracle. This is brand new out of Doom of Dimensions. This card is absolutely custom. It is a level 10 Earth Psychic Fusion, 2900 attack, 1000 defense, requiring a Psychic monster plus 1 Synchro, Xyz, or Link as material. That is very generic. This card makes an absolutely crazy Super Poly target for us, which a little bit of a spoiler, we are playing Super Poly in the side. But when this card is fusion summoned, it gains 1000 attack for each Synchro, Xyz, and Link monster you used as its material until the end of the next turn. Then it says, as a quick effect, when your opponent would special summon a monster or monsters, you can negate the summon, and if you do, banish those monsters. So this card is a walking solemn judgment for summons, or I guess solemn warning, I guess you could say. Just really crazy. And if that wasn't crazy enough, if this card is, if this fusion summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish a teleport, normal, or quick play spell from your grave to special summon this card back to field. So this card is absolutely custom. Like I said, brand new out of Doom of Dimensions, and I've been having a blast with this card all weekend long. Up next, we do have one of the absolute Axon Kicker. This came out in the previous set. This just requires a Psychic Synchro monster plus a Synchro, and it cannot be destroyed by card effects. And when it is fusion summoned, you can pay 2,000 life points to banish all face-up cards your opponent controls. Just a full field wipe. Then, if it's in the graveyard, you can banish this card from grave to special summon a level 10 Psychic Fusion from your extra deck. This is treated as a fusion summon, so you can use the graveyard effect of this to actually cheat out the Axon Kicker Oracle, which I think is pretty neat. So that rounds out our suite of fusions. Now moving into our synchros, we have one Silent Psychic Magician, one copy of Mind Castellan. This is a very funny Psychic Synchro, level 6. Then we have one of the brand new Serene Psychic Sorceress. This card is brand new from Doom of Dimensions. Generic material, if she's synchro summoned, you can pay 1,000 life points to set a teleport, normal, or quick play spell from your deck, grave, or banishment. So she grabs a teleport quick play from basically anywhere. Then if the synchro summon card is sent to grave, she can target a card the opponent controls, or up to 2 if you control a Psychic Fusion or Synchro, and return those cards to the hand. So very good quality synchro climbing tool. Then you have Mind Castellan, who's basically a like a mind control of sorts. And then if she goes to the graveyard, or not even mind control, like creature swap, I guess is a better way to put it. And then if she goes to the graveyard, she can attempt to creature swap again. So this card is also quite funny, because if you summon this and you try to use the effect to switch control of a monster, and the opponent like negates and destroys this, then in the graveyard she'll still attempt to try to like switch control of any of their bodies, which is kind of funny. Then we have Silent Psychic Magician, which is just a very high quality extender. He allows you to special summon a level 4 or lower Psychic that's banished or engraved, and then you can optionally increase its level by 1. He can also be treated as a non-tuner for the Synchro summon of a Psychic Synchro, which is pretty neat. Moving into our level 8s, we have one Jam Dragon Drive, followed by one Psyframe Lord Omega. Two very iconic level 8 Psychic Synchro monsters. Don't really need much explanation. Jam Dragon Drive searching you level 3 Psychics from deck to hand, or Foolish Barreling level 3 Psychics from deck to grave is huge. And then Psyframe Lord Omega, just been the tried and true, you know, decent level 8 Psychic Synchro. for a long time. Moving into our level 9s, we have 1 copy of Virtual World Shen, and then 1 Psychic Blaster Mark II. Shen just being like a pseudo macrocosmos on legs is pretty crazy. And then Psychic Blaster just being able to recover any banished monster back to your field, while also being a quick effect banish removal is really, really awesome. Rounding out the Synchro Suite, 1 copy of Jiraishin, the Cursed Thunder God, and then 1 copy of the Psychic End Punisher, our 2 level 11 Synchro targets. Jiraishin is just crazy, gaining you life for everything the opponent does. Used to be really good in the previous time rules, but now not so much. I mean, gaining life is still a benefit, obviously, because this deck does pay a lot of life for its plays, but now it's not like you're going to be cheesing wins in time with this Synchro anymore. But he's still extremely powerful, you know, attributing himself and paying 1,500 to either nuke all front row or all back row on the opponent's side is nothing to scoff at. And then obviously End Punisher just being the premium OTK enabler for Psychic decks since its release. Then rounding out the rest of the extra deck, we have 1 Valon, the Super Spy Sky Blaster, which is a new rank 5 Psychic Xyz out of Duelist Advance. This is what we're usually making with our Canine package. I wanted something generic, like that was Psychic specific, because remember, we do get Psychic locked from the extra deck occasionally, so I didn't want like to play like the 17 Ripper, for example, because if we're Psychic locked, we weren't able to make cards like that. So I just feel like Valon is still pretty decent though. He's a quick effect Book of Moon, gives the deck an effect that it doesn't have access to otherwise, which I think is pretty neat. Then we also play the 1 Punk Jam Fever. Best card in the deck, hands down. Just being a monster negate is huge. Insulating us from cards like Nibiru, I think is great. And then we also, to round out the extra deck, is 1 copy of Psyframe Lord Lambda. So that rounds out the extra deck. Now moving into the side. Again, side deck is always up to personal preference, but for this past weekend's tournaments, I chose to side deck 1 copy of Psyframe Gear Delta, the Psyframe Spell Negate, an additional Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit in the side, and then a very small Bestial package consisting of 1 Magnamut, 1 Juris Worm. I was actually pretty pleased with how the Bestials performed in the side this weekend. That they actually came up quite a bit. Then we have 1 copy of Mutant Fusion, mainly for when we're going second. Instead of using Mutant Cry, we can use ST46 to grab Mutant Fusion, and it's a lot more proactive than trying to go, have a Cry in the deck when we're going second, which I think is really neat. Then we also play a playset of Psychic Eraser Laser. I think this card is absolutely custom. It was the MVP for me all weekend. It is basically non-target removal for any special summon monster the opponent controls that was summoned from the extra deck specifically. Because it doesn't target, it makes your opponent have to do things really awkwardly because they're either forced to chain everything preemptively, or they just let you out their card and they really can't do anything about it. Unless they have like a hard negate for this, which isn't always the case because there isn't a lot of Omni negates in this format outside of maybe like a Herald of the Arclight. But even if they had a Herald, I mean, Herald basically has to answer this, so at least it baits out the Herald preemptively either way. Then, like I mentioned, because of the new Axon Kicker Oracle, we are also sideboarding a playset of Super Poly because I think Axon Kicker Oracle is just a crazy Super Poly target. Just needing 1 Psychic monster and then any Synchro, Xyz, or Link is just nuts. Being able to poly into a 3,900 attack Solemn Judgment on legs is just ridiculous. So it goes without saying that Super Poly is absolutely busted. Then we have 1 Duster, and then since Judgment is limited, we decided to play our own copies of it, which is Mind Over Matter. Now, a lot of you might not know this card, but this is basically the Psychic version of Solemn Judgment. It is a counter trap, and it states when a monster would be normal or special summoned, or a spell trap card is activated, you contribute a Psychic monster for cost to negate the summoner activation. And if you do, destroy that card. This card came up all weekend for me. It was actually another MVP when I would be going first. The outer stuff like Evenly Matched, Dark Ruler, different things like that. It was pretty strong, low key. But this wraps up my update to Psychic for post Doom of Dimensions. Like I said, duelists, like, comment, subscribe, chime down below if you duelists want to see combos and test hands with this deck, showcasing some of the things that it can pull off. But with that being said, this is Nick hitting that end phase. Really quick, a bit of a life update. Those of you who follow the channel closely know that I recently had knee surgery. I've been in recovery for the past few weeks now. I'm still off of work at time of recording, but I'm actually slowly but surely getting back to normal. I started physical therapy mid last week, and things have been going well. I'm still pretty sore. You know, I just have like surgery pain now, but slowly but surely I'm getting by. And yeah, like I said, I'm just happy to be able to provide you duelists with some fresh content. I know it's been a while. Fear not, I have other decks coming to the channel. I have an update to Dynamorphia, post Doom of Dimensions and post ban list. And then I also am going to be bringing you duelists my take on branded Dracotail. So I'm very excited for that. Just waiting to get some of the stuff in the mail and whatnot. But with that being said, like I said, this is the deck I've been piling in the meantime. This psychic pile, I guess you could call it. And it's been tons of fun. 45 cards, really clean list. Like I said, went to 2 different locals tournaments this weekend, and it went X1 at both. So this deck is just it's been a great time, honestly. I couldn't be happier with the results. So that's about it. Like I said, other than that, peace.